EPG program in Japanese, paper 5, communication through translation, Honyaku Tsuji no communication. Welcome back to module 17, learn while practicing English to Japanese. This is the second module in this series. Jisen shinagara gakushu suru ewayaku. I have been talking in my classes that English to Japanese, what I mean here is that the native speaker should do the translation to the target language. So it's something which I don't advise so easily, but if we apply the techniques, how it can help, we have seen in the previous modules. Let's see the recapitulations from the previous module first. Basically, the process involves systematic segmentation. The process appears long and complicated, but you need to try a few times. You will make the difference. You will notice the difference. Non-native target language speaker can also render good quality translation. Just follow the guidelines. We have so far seen a typical pattern, for example, frame capture, then frame transfer, then apply 5W1H. If need be, pick up units. Let's try another combination here, and that's a frame capture through 5W1H. What it means is that when you're capturing the frame, try to apply 5W1H in your mind in a conscious manner. You actually apply 5W1H when you capture the frame without even acknowledging to yourself. And at the same time, when you do the transpositioning, when you try to write in the target language, there also keep 5W1H in your mind, or in a very discrete manner. If you apply, it helps. And transpositioning is certainly an art, and we found that if we apply 5W1H, this starts working. This art itself starts working even if you do not have visible skill of this type originally. Units improve ease of doing, though the touch remains mechanical, and whenever there is something mechanical, you miss out on the emotional part. Caution remains very clear that in the case of reverse translation, please do get it checked by somebody else, preferably a native speaker. Now in this module, we will cover the translation of subtitles and taxation. Subtitles means where some movie is shown and there is some script coming at the bottom to explain about the dialogue which is being told at that point of time. So subtitle has got a typical nature. It's a conversation, or it's a conversation type dialogue. And taxation, what we are dealing here in this module is some paragraphs have been picked up from text treaty between India and Japan, and to explain how the techniques help in such cases. We have noticed that even the non-native speakers can do translation, a workable translation. Objectives remain the same: professional pursuit, that is the building ability to interpret the original text, then guiding principles, and in the guiding principles follow a systematic approach, even while using the combination of techniques, look for the way to handle the deviation and render accurate translation with reasonable amount of readability. Then outcome expected is practicing scholars of translation, that is grooming of such scholars who would be able to deliver, or who will have better confidence level for the where the confidence level will be better for the non-native target language translators, and generating realistic theories through practice. Trainer's trainer is the last one. Let me give you some tips about the first two examples, that is subtitling. The word subtitle, it has got two elements: sub and title. Title you all know, and sub stands for something that comes at the bottom or which is subset, and subtitle in Japanese is jimaku. Now this does not give a very clear equivalence. To understand this, let me give another example. It's called surtitle. Surtitle is also called supertitle or superscript, and the surtitle comes on the top of the screen. If you see the equivalent in Japanese, it's jobu jimaku, and its exact equivalent, jobu means upper part. On the screen, on the top, when the script comes, this is maku stands for curtain or screen, G is character or the script, So the characters appearing on the curtain or on the screen on the upper part is subtitle. Now you look back at Jimaku. So when you look back at Jimaku, it very clearly shows that the characters of the script coming on the curtain is subtitle. The usual, when you don't mention anything, it means it is coming at the bottom. If you want to very specifically say that the titles are coming on the top, then it is called Jobu Jimaku, or subtitle in English. I would request all of you to focus on the screen, because all the examples are shown on the screen. You can listen to my voice and focus on the screen. Now some more details about the subtitles. Caption for target language audience, because target language audience may not at times be able to hear properly or want some assistance, or there's a language issue. So it is displayed at the bottom of the screen, and source transcript is normally given there. Subtitling is done either in original language, as I said, sometimes the script is given for the benefit of the viewers, or through translation for the target audience. That means you are targeting a different market and the people speak different language, so it is translated and given there. For all of you, this will be a market. If you develop the skill of translating the subtitles, then the market is open, because India makes so many movies. It can be translated into any language, so you can make a beginning. And the subtitle translation demands understanding and or consultation with the stakeholders. This is the key here. Unless you understand what the director wants to say, or what the writer wants to convey, you won't be able to translate it properly. So that means you need to discuss or consult the stakeholders, and then transfer the nuance. So output may come closer to interpretation rather than translation. These are the two examples which we are covering here, and since we will be covering these examples in detail, let's take these examples one by one. First step, as you remember, we said that the trick here is to do the segmentation or to simplify. So first step is the bifurcation. Let's break it into smaller segments. These are the possible segmentations one can do without applying much mind. It's just done once, So now in this particular case, the first segment is hello and welcome back. Hello and welcome back. In the beginning of this module, I said welcome back to this module. Now this is a style which we use probably in a particular culture. What I spoke was in English. If the same thing is to be said in Hindi, I don't know if I say Aapka Swagat hai is module mein, will it serve the purpose or not. But when we say it in Japanese, let's see the subtitle line by line now. The first line was hello and welcome back. Now this hello and welcome back is a greeting which is in English it sounds very good. I don't know whether in Hindi we can say hello या probably namaste, आपका स्वागत है वापस मॉड्यूल 17 में या मॉड्यूल 18 में. I don't know whether it will sound so good or not, but in Japanese certainly it is not said in this manner. So you have to find an equivalent which will fit in here. That means in such a scenario, what Japanese normally say, and one possible expression which normally is used by the Japanese is given here. Minasan konnichiwa. This is for the hello. Minasan konnichiwa. It's a greeting which normally Japanese say in a very clear manner. And then Zenkai no Suzuki yo yarimashou. Now Zenkai no Suzuki yo yarimashou actually means let's continue with where we ended in the last module. So it's an equivalent you have to pick up from the scenario. The next part is today I'm delighted to introduce to you Professor Hazra. The full name is Jishnu Hazra, my colleague in the production operation management area. If you read it carefully, you get a hint where to break. Now let's try to find the the frame out of it. I am delighted to introduce to you. This is a at random picked up just picked up a frame, and let's see whether it works or not by applying the 5W1H. See, when I say who, so I, watashi wa, what, delighted, so ureshi, For what? To introduce shokai dekhte. It can also be called shokai shite, but the way it is said in Japanese is shokai dekhte. To whom? To you. So minasan ni. It could be to one person. In that case, it will be anatani. And whom is an extra question asked. It doesn't have an equivalent. Now, if we connect all these elements, it comes as watashi wa minasan ni something o go shokai dekhte ureshi desu. Not very complete frame. Let's see, can we fill something here and get the full frame? Now I am saying, I am delighted to introduce to you Professor Jishnu Hazra. Now again apply 5W1H and see, you get all the equivalents now. These are the equivalents coming in the same manner, and let's see the complete combination. Watashi wa minasan ni Jishnu Hazra kyoju o go shokai dekhte ureshi desu. This makes sense both in English as well as in Japanese. This is an example of how to capture frame. You may capture the frame in the beginning, which may not be very accurate. So some hit and trial is required to come to the correct frame. Now here it's too small print, so I have Anu here with me. Can you read please Anu the English sentence here, English part here?
English part is, my colleague in the production operations management area.
My colleague in the production operation management area. This is basically one frame which can be called micro frame. So let's see how we get the elements through 5W1H. Questions. First question is, who is my colleague? So watashi no doryo. Where? In the production operation management area. That sounds a little difficult. So production operation management area. Suppose I say management area. That sounds simple to you. So my colleague in the management area. And if I say management area, it is Kanri Bumon. So Kanri Bumon de no watashi no doryo. It's quite simple. Now that means the difficulty here was the production operation management, and which needs to be translated. That can be done separately, and maybe the word is available in the dictionary also. Production is seisan. Operation not required here. So seisan kanri bumon deno watashi no doryo. So this gives you the microframe. The microframe is quite complete here. Let's see the transpositioning now. 5W1H helps. You have seen it is helping in identifying the error or the incompleteness of the frame, or in optimizing the frame. Now let's see the transpositioning. The macro frame was, I am delighted to introduce to you Professor Jishnu Hazra. So watashi wa minasan ni Jishnu Hazra kyoju wo go shokai dekhte ureshi desu. And the microframe in the production operations management area is seisan kanri bumon de no watashi no doryo. Kare ni tsuite mochotto kuwashiku ieba, watashi wa minasan ni seisan. I think I can't read, and can you help me in reading?
Watashi wa minasan ni seisan kanri bumon de no watashi no doryo.
Yeah, there is some part which is not so clearly visible in between, that is de aru Jishnu Hazra. This is something which can be modified. So the final sentence is watashi wa minasan ni seisan kanri bumon de no watashi no doryo Jishnu Hazra kyoju wo go shokai dekhte ureshi desu. Again, I think you will have to help me in reading.
本日私は生産部門での私の同僚ジシュヌハズラ教授を皆さんにご紹介できて嬉しい。
Yeah, Honjitsu has been added here because today was not covered. Then what we get here, that a frame, when you apply 5W1H methodology, it helps in subtitling, particularly in the case of subtitling. For the once identified, the adjectival clause may be kept aside in the beginning. This has been done in the previous modules also. It's getting proved here also. Yes, who would be talking to you about the topic sustainable operation? This is the second adjectival clause. let's apply 5W1H. The questions can be who, what, when, etc. But the hint here is that you start with something. It says who would be talking to you. So there's a hint already there. So I say who. The answer comes Hazara Kyoju. And because this will be most probably wa will go with it. And then what is he? Who is he, or what he is saying? Who would be talking? So hanashimasu, would be talking about what? About the topic, and that topic is sustainable operations. You can break it into two also, but you can, if you understand them, about the topic sustainable operation. So jizoku kano na jigyo toyu tema ni suite. So Hazara Kyoju wa jizoku kano na jigyo toyu tema ni suite hanashimasu. So here this is the adjectival clause. And thank you, Jishnu, for speaking to my students. Well, in English people don't put title. For example, Jishnu, addressing is not done, it's you call by name. In Japanese it's preferable to say Jishnu sensei. Kyo watashi no gakusei ra ni o hanashi o shite itadaku koto domo arigatou gozaimasu. Now this we have done, we have talked earlier also. So greetings may or may not have a word-to-word equivalence. That means you will probably have to pick up an equivalence from the target language, the way it is said in the target language. Therefore, freedom must be taken to communicate the feelings which are provided in the greeting. And if the same greeting was used at the end of the talk, the same greeting, for example, thank you, Jishnu, for speaking to my students. It can be said in the beginning of the dialogue also, and can be said at the end also. If it was at the end, then it would have been, the translation would have been shite itadaki mashite domo arigatou gozaimashita. So that means in English you don't need to modify, but in Japanese very clearly past tense comes if you are speaking at the end, and you speak in the maybe future or maybe in the current scenario if it is said in the beginning. The translation comes like this. Minasan, konnichiwa. Zenkai no tsuzuki o yarimashou. Honjitsu, watashi wa seisan bumon de no watashi no doryo Jishnu Hazara Kyoju wo minasan ni go shoukai dekite ureshi desu. Hazara Kyoju wa you may say or you may avoid because it's already covered, but it's better to say Hazara Kyoju wa, otherwise it's not getting connected. Jizoku kano na jigyo toyu tema ni suite hanashimasu. Jishnu sensei, this is because you are addressing Jishnu sensei, so it's changing. It's better to break the line also here. Jishnu sensei, kyo watashi no gakusei ra ni o hanashi shite itadaku koto domo arigatou gozaimasu. Some fine tuning is required, and that fine tuning has been done in this case. Konnichiwa, zenkai no, you can see ni suite hanashimasu, dekite ureshi desu, and watashi wa, those are the things in Japanese you need to do the fine tuning. Konnichiwa, zenkai no tsuzuki o yarimashou. Honjitsu, that means watashi goes from here. Honjitsu seisan kanri bumon de no watashi no doryo Jishnu Hazara Kyoju wa minasan ni go shoukai shitai to omaimasu. This is another style of saying, so it gives a slightly better readability. Watashi wa is not required because I am speaking myself, so I don't need to call that I am going to introduce. Then Hazara Kyoju wa kyo jizoku kano na. So Hazara Kyoju is being added here. Kyo jizoku kano na jigyo toyu tema o chushin ni o hanashi o shite kuremasu. Some modification is there. Then Jishnu sensei, kyo watashi no gakusei ra ni o hanashi o shite itadaku koto domo arigatou gozaimasu. I will request Anu to read the comments. The comment is quite important here.
Our comment says, find and rational segmentation, application of right mix of technique, and some fine tuning helps in English to Japanese translation by a non-native bilingual resource person. Japanese version used here needs further fine tuning, but this version can convey the meaning.
2 points mentioned here. One is that non-native target language speakers can attempt translation into that language. If you are doing it in a systematic manner, this ensures accuracy. I have probably talked about the concept of complacency. When you translate from Japanese to English, if Japanese is not your mother tongue, and English of course is not our mother tongue, but it's as good as mother tongue because you use English very often. So Japanese to English is convenient, but when you translate from English to Japanese, there's no one who checks you, and you think that you are right, but you are not a native speaker. So there is always an element of doubt, and you feel that you are. When you start feeling you are correct, this complacency element goes into you, and you tend to write the way you want to write, and many a times moving away from the original. Therefore, it is always better, I have said earlier also, that you must get it checked by a native speaker. So what version we are giving here is actually without showing to the native speaker. So if you reach this level, this means it's a working type of level and it conveys the meaning. Let's see the example 2 now. Bifurcation is the first step, and let's see the segments. These are the 2 segments created here. First one you can see is greetings. So we don't show it clearly, and you can see the translation here almost same. It's minasan ni go shoukai dekite taihen ureshi ko omottemasu. Taihen ureshi desu, taihen ureshi ko omottemasu. You can also say minasan ni go shoukai shitai to omoimasu. So there are various ways of translating the greetings. Now let's see the next clause. It's she is passionate about sustainability reporting and heads GRIs, that's a global reporting institutes, efforts in promoting sustainability reporting. I think I'll request Anu to read because I'm not able to read it.
She is passionate about sustainability reporting and heads GRIs, that's a global reporting initiatives, efforts in promoting sustainability reporting across Asia.
The English also needs to be understood. There is a word called GRI in between, and GRI also has got a small s after that. It's a short form of global reporting initiatives. Then it further explains efforts in promoting sustainability reporting across Asia. Now, if I say across Asia, that means it can be taken out. The second part was she is passionate about sustainability reporting and heads. So there is one part she is passionate about sustainability reporting and heads GRIs, and then GRIs explained. So let's try to put questions up to here to gather the frame. Who? She. So she becomes Kanojawa. What is passionate? So Neshinna about what? About sustainability reporting. So jizoku kano na ho, jizoku kano se ho koku ni kanjite. And what? And what is the second part? That is and heads GRIs efforts. That means GRI no doryoku o riideshitemasu. If she is heading this for what? In or efforts for what? In promoting sustainability reporting. So jizoku kano hokoku o sokushin saseru koto ni. Well, if you are promoting, then where? Across Asia. So Asia shokoku de. And if we try to see in the first she, it's coming from context because to improve the readability, there's some addition to be done here. Neshin nakata this. So she is passionate was she is passionate. So passionate, you're trying to make it a noun, so you'll have to put kata. So neshin nakata de, and for the next is the and is coming for the conjunction. Now going to the balance part, the remaining part, that's a global reporting initiatives. It's translated and put straight away directly in between. In Japanese it comes as Honjitsu GRI no regional hub no director o tsutometeru Aditi Haldar Hakase o minasan ni go shoukai shitai koto o taihen ureshiku omotte orimasu. Kanojo wa jizoku kanou sei hokoku ni kanjite nesshin na kata de jizoku kanou sei hokoku o sokushin saseru koto ni Asia shokoku de GRIs すなわち、グローバルレポーティングイニシアチブという努力をリードしています。Some amount of fine tuning if we do, it becomes, you can see it's getting reduced also. So, 本日 GRI の Regional Hub のディレクターを務めているアディティ・ハルダル博士を皆さんにご紹介できて大変嬉しく存じます。存じています。存じます。存じます is better。彼女は持続可能性報告に関して熱心な方で、持続可能性報告を促進させることにアジア諸国で GRIs、すなわちグローバルレポーティングイニシアチブという努力をリードしています。Now, can I request Anu to read the comments?
If a translator applies all the techniques depending on his or her comfort level, there is a possibility of good quality rendering in first group, and fine-tuning may not be required. Second one is, but this Japanese version is a non-native version and serves the basic purpose of communication.
The first comment is that you may not need fine-tuning because if you apply logic 5W1H both at the time of capturing and also at the time of reframing, then the accuracy is maintained. Now, to give a better readability as a non-native target language speaker, you are not the right man to give a good readability. To the extent possible, some fine-tuning can be done, but final fine-tuning or finishing should be done by a native speaker if that is required. Let's go to the next, that is example 3 and 4. This is about text treaty. These are the two examples. And let's go one by one on the examples. First example is convention between the government of Japan and government of Republic of India for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income. Looks very, very difficult. Let me simplify it. Convention between India and Japan or Japan and India makes it simple. For the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income. Let's try to do the same thing with 5W1H. What? Convention. Between whom? If there's a convention, it has to be between the two. So it's between the government of Japan and the government of the Republic of India. The equivalence is, convention is Joyaku, and between the two governments is very simple. So Nihon Koku Seifu, and to comes for joining, and Indo Kyowa Koku Seifu to no Aida. So final frame comes as Nihon Koku Seifu to Indo Kyowakoku Seifu to no Aida no Joyaku. Let's see the remaining part. For the avoidance of double taxation, and the second part is prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income. Let's try to apply a different technique. Let's see if can we do it by units instead of going for frame business. If we see for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion, don't you think it looks like for A and B? So that's how it becomes quasi universal unit. And if I say A to B no tame no, that's a translation. Now put for A niju kaze no kaihi, and is oyobi. Second was prevention of fiscal evasion, that's a no boshi. With respect to taxes on income, so shotoku ni taisuru soze ni kansuru. This is also a quasi universal with respect to C and D. Let's do the transpositioning now. This was the macro frame. Let's put the 5W1H to join the micro frames. For what? For the avoidance with respect to taxes. These were the two parts. So it comes as Niju kaze no kaihi oyobi datsuze no boshi no tame is the first part, and the second is shotoku ni taisuru soze ni kansuru. The complete, if you join, is shotoku ni taisuru soze ni kansuru niju kaze no kaihi oyobi datsuze no boshi no tame no A to B Nihon Seifu と日本国政府とインド共和国政府との間の条約。The what needs to be understood very clearly that piece by piece we have translated. If you put it properly, only in rare cases it may not make sense. Normally it will make good sense. So regardless of content, any combination of techniques will help in rendering accurate translation in target language even by a non-native practitioner. This is what we could see here. Let's see the last example, that is example 4. Can you read it, Anu?
As regards the application of this convention by a contracting state, any term not defined therein shall, unless the context otherwise requires, have the meaning which it has under the laws of the contracting state concerning the taxes to which this convention applies.
Sounds Greek to me. Let's apply 5W1H. Not my job to do tax treaty or tax business. So let's try to understand it in a logical manner. What are we talking about? What? As regards the application of this convention. So kono jo ya kuno tekio jo. Okay, what next? Any term not defined therein. Therein means inside. Any term not defined therein shall have the meaning. So kono jo ya kuni oite tegi sarete ina yogo wa something imyasuru. So as regards this, the application of this convention, any term not defined, this whole thing comes as kono jo ya kuno tekio jo, kono jo ya kuni oite tegi sarete ina yogo wa something imyo yusuru. Let's see the remaining part now. The remaining part was, there were few parts actually. So by a contracting state was missed out, unless the context otherwise requires is missed out, which it has under the laws of that contracting state concerning the taxes to which his convention applies. If you are finding it still difficult, I suggest look at by a contracting state. This is fine. By me, by him, almost same. Unless the context otherwise requires. This is an expression. So I would suggest that this type of expression can be taken as a unit itself. Then which it has under the laws. In the laws it is built in of that contracting state. So law is of that contracting state. That means you, while translating, keep only one out of it. That means which it has under the laws, and this of that contracting state can be connected later on concerning the taxes. This is also adjectival, to which this convention applies. Now here there is some meaning. What it means is to the relevant convention. Okay, now let's see. Let's try to see if we can do by units. By a contracting state, as I said, by a contracting state as a quasi universal unit, it's any yoru. And in this case, it's translated as ippo no teyaku koku ni yoru. Ippo no is not hitotsu no, as because in English it's a. In place of a, ippo no is put because it's a convention between, or it's an agreement between the two parties. And we are talking about one party, therefore ippo no. Unless the context otherwise requires. This seems to be a little difficult, so that's why I said it's better that we don't go word by word, arrive for the equivalent, and that becomes a unit. So it's bummyaku ni yori, yani what it means is bummyaku ni yori means depending upon the context. Betsu ni kaishaku suru kaishaku subeki bai o nozoku hoka. When it is to be understood because of the context in a different way. So leaving aside only that particular part was the English. So unless the context otherwise requires, and in Japanese it comes like in a slightly different manner. Now, which it has under the laws of that contracting state concerning the taxes to which this convention applies as one. Obviously, for the we have done it for the sake of convenience, but I would advise that if you're finding it difficult, you can further break it down. This comes as kono joyaku no tekio 適用を受ける租税に関する当該一方の締約国の法令における当該用語の so it's quite mechanically done, but it makes sense. Let's see how it makes sense. This was the original English, and we started with the frame. Let's join the other one. The using the microframe for transpositioning. どこが適用する and I don't think I can read it, so can you help Anu?
一方の締約国によるこの条約の適用上、この条約において定義されていない用語は意義を有する。
So どこが適用する is actually 一方の締約国による、and what is that? それはOnly the highlighted part will be giving the それは answer for それは
answer is この条約の適用を受ける租税に関する当該一方の締約国の法令における当該用語の
Now what is shown here that the highlighted or the clearly readable part is the answer to that question, whereas the other part is shown here. This is how the sentence is getting built up. Now there was some condition in this, so let's put question for the condition. दोनों योना जोकेन, and the answer is that means unless or excluding type of clause, and this is the overall translation for this particular sentence. Regardless of context, as I said in the previous slide also, any combination of techniques will help in rendering accurate translation even in the target language by a non-native practitioner. Of course, you have the freedom of learning these techniques and then devising your own ways. So the learning of this module is basically this module as well as the previous module. Previous one, the two demonstrate the application of systematic approach, and this module shows devising the combination of techniques. No more complicated now, I believe. Try few times, it will become familiar. Non-native of target language can also render good quality translation even in English-Japanese language pair in the case of India. Just follow the guidelines. Apply combinations religiously few number of times yourself. Get used to the different techniques. Then devise your own guidelines once the concept is understood by you. And caution again remains the same, that you have to develop the habit of rechecking by another person, preferably by a Japanese. Thank you so much. These are the references. See you in the module 18.